Greetings everyone, it's me, Leaping Larry, and this is Super Mario Bros. 2. The original Japanese version, that is. Now, I was originally going to record this playthrough as I did all my others, until that infamous difficulty of this one reared its ugly head. And I was faced with many game overs and a much longer than expected playthrough. So I decided I would try something different and give you sort of a highlight reel with some post-recorded commentary, since I didn't want to bore everyone with repeated attempts at the exact same parts of stages. So let me know what you think of this style of video, as I may use it again for similar games that take a long time as well. Now, I'm sure you can see here that stage 1 wasn't so difficult for me here. Fairly normal playthrough, although definitely more challenging than the original Mario Brothers stage 1. Actually, I always found it interesting how the developers thought that since people beat their way through the hard levels of the previous Mario game, that the logical next step to make a sequel would be to just increase the difficulty. This, of course, was before, it became an industry staple to generally make a sequel that was in the same spirit as the previous game, just usually with enhanced features, add-ons, gimmicks, maybe a bigger world, that such thing. So here in the second world, this is pretty much the world where I knew it was going to be difficult. Everything seemed to be going fine, and then we got to this pit. This is when I knew this playthrough was going to take a while, right there. Eventually we did make it to World 3 though. Of course, seeing these squid guys flying around in the sky definitely did not give me a boost in confidence for what was to come. Oh, yeah, just work that platform down there is all I gotta do. This particular one, there's all kinds of great big gaps like that, where you sort of have to take it full tilt and run for it. And even the mushrooms, as you can see there, are placed in just such a cruel way. Now the first castle here wasn't so bad, but as you can see, I was getting a little flustered and we were taking on the deaths, as we were with every level so far. Close call there with the fireball. And then it was just a short leap over the first fake Bowser, and we're on to World 2. Which also met me with a quick death. And then we met this green bouncer, which we are going to see more of in not too long from now. But as you can see, that sort of bounces us up into the stratosphere. Onto World 2 here, and then we see the gimmick of there's going to be lots of hidden blocks to come. Flying fish in World 2-3, we just kept running and running, not without losing some more lives, including in the castle here. When we got to Bowser, I just waited for him to jump, and then I made my run for the axe. Princess, of course, and another castle. When we got to World 3-1, we were faced with our first game over. Luckily, it lets you continue off in the exact same world you left off in. 3-1 also had more of the green bouncers, and introduced us to the idea of having to bounce on turtles to progress. Which, if you've ever played the original Mario Brothers, you might realize that bouncing on turtles is quite the challenge, not like following Mario games. 3-2 is this difficult underwater world with all kinds of enemies, bloopers, these squid guys. think they're called bloopers anyway. Just everywhere. Next thing you know, we're in the freaking sky. And I just couldn't quite make this jump. And a couple attempts later, we were onto the castle though. This castle is one where you have to follow a specific path again. And here, when I saw that little space down below, I thought, that's where I'm supposed to go. Sure enough, it looped around when I continued on as a result of not taking the correct path. So then we took this bottom path, and there you go, progress. And then it was more of this difficult problem solving, take the right path, but luckily I had a feeling to progress, so I would have to take the top path, and found these invisible blocks in order to help me do so. Thankfully, that was indeed the correct path, and shortly after that, we were on to Bowser. He was definitely intimidating, but I used that same strategy of going underneath as soon as I saw the opening, and we were on to the next castle to search for the princess. World 4, and we're introduced to Lakitu, just like in the original Mario Brothers. Only, he actually this time shows back up in World 4 too also, as you can see right here. And we are faced with these pipe jumps where you have to run at full speed in order to make. This one gave me just a little bit of trouble. I just couldn't quite stay up on that dang pipe for some reason. Look, he had like butter on his shoes. Then I was so desperate for a power-up, I committed suicide here in World 4-3. Unfortunately, that was just foreshadowing for the enormous amount of trouble that World 4-3 would actually give me. Probably actually the most trouble out of any level in the game for some reason. Just death after death, especially trying to land on this mandatory Koopa. Eventually I did make it to the end, and on to the next castle. Even though I managed to find a fire flower here, the fourth castle presented us with multiple of these long-ass fire rod things. Falling platforms shortly followed by these Hammer Bros bodyguards, and then this ridiculously tight corridor that you then had to jump over lava. After taking out these Koopa Troopers, I was faced with this ridiculous pipe structure thing while dodging fireballs trying to land on this moving platform. Then when trying to advance from this one block position here, I get hit, so I decided to just take advantage of the invincibility rings and run right through Bowser. In the next level, you're facing wind. Yes, wind in Mario. Next thing you know, you're faced with this tall-ass wall of dirt, which is like foreshadowing the difficulty curve that this game is about to take. Then this next level had this moving platform, which at first I rode around the level a few times before realizing I kept cycling around and I actually had to bounce on this turtle. World 5 Castle was a continuous series of tight jumps over these bar flame enemy things, with Bowser shooting fire at you, and then you finally come up against him with this tight ceiling and a moving platform to deal with. Fortunately, I had luck on my side during this run, and I beat Bowser on my first try through this castle. Then in the first level of World 6, you're once again dealing with the wind, But not only do you have to deal with the wind, but now you have to try and stand on this moving platform while the wind is trying to blow you off. Oh, and making a jump over these red piranha plants. In World 6 water level, I had a gang of Bowser's minions almost take me out. As you can see, they cornered me up against the screen. But I managed to slyly dodge my way around them and get out of that level. And on to the second round of dodging flying fish. World 6 Castle wasn't too bad, mostly just timing my way by these giant flame rod things. Although I did notice Bowser seemed to shoot that fire an awful lot faster than before. After this low passageway, you have to deal with your worst Bowser fight yet. He's now throwing hammers at you. Luckily I had the firepower to get me through. First level of World 7, they're throwing fish, bullets, and the wind at me. Plus you have to bounce on these turtles to progress the level. Upon leaving this area, I'm faced off against the worst Hammer Brothers yet. This ultra-aggressive variant who comes at you relentlessly. A skillful jump through his hammers later, and I was on my way through the rest of this level though. Now remember those green springboards from earlier? Well, on World 7-3, you have to go from green springboard to green springboard, with no actual idea of where you are when you're above the screen. You just sort of have to guess by timing. That being said, I did manage to time it so I went right from one green springboard to the other. Then it throws a tight little section with fire rods at you out of nowhere right before the end of this level. Then you're on to the second last castle, where I was able to get a 1-up by kicking this Koopa Troopa shell down on all these birdie beetle guys. Then you're immediately faced with these super tight corridors where it doesn't even look like that fire rod should be able to pass you. But it does. You just have to crouch in the corner and wait for it to pass by, then run for your life. Defeating the final phony Bowser here, we were on to the final world at last. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned, but these red piranha plants you're seeing have different characteristics and don't wait nearly as long to pop back out. Then I'm dealing with the wind and this triple jump over this Koopa Troopa group. Then I managed to kill another aggressive Hammer Brother with a birdie beetle shell. Then you gotta make this long perilous jump, bounce off a turtle shell, and face off against a duo of aggressive The second level of World 8 was filled with these hidden blocks you constantly hit your head on, causing you to die in the most cheap fashion imaginable. To finish this level, you have to bounce off this Koopa's head to activate the vine, and the finish is then up here in the clouds. Interestingly enough, I guess that means this is the one that started the tradition of having that sky level in Mario games that we're all so used to by now. The final overworld level of World 8, taking place in the clouds, was filled with the hidden blocks, all kinds of long jumps using red springboards, and those aggressive Hammer Brothers come at you non-stop. To finish the level, you had to find these two hidden blocks so that you could get a run on, making this really long jump over to the platform. But after figuring this out, I was finally onto Bowser's Castle proper. Which was a labyrinth of fire rods, dodging poisonous mushrooms, making long jumps, timed over leaping fireballs. Then they want you to make this ridiculous drop with Mario 1's wonky gravity. Luckily I made it into this pipe on my first try. Then it's figuring out what correct path you have to take while dodging flying squid, poisonous mushrooms, red piranha plants, and turtles. In this section of the castle, I did get a little lost and noticed I was seeing the same background over and over like a Tom and Jerry cartoon while I tried to figure out the exact way the game was wanting me to go. This led to some deaths. For finding the correct passage, you're rewarded with another mandatory Koopa Troopa bound. Now you might think you're facing off against Bowser, but this is just his bodyguard. They make sure to leave plenty of space so that you can't take advantage of any invincibility frames also. After this narrow corridor, we're facing down Bowser. A bit intimidated, I did manage to finally run underneath him and hit that axe, finally putting an end to this torturous adventure. And with that, the princess is saved, and her second adventure through the Mushroom Kingdom has come to an end. And with that, I want to thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this style of video. I will probably use this style again for any more super difficult games, like I'm thinking, for example, Mega Man coming up will likely be recorded and done in a similar style to this. So yeah, let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed our adventures through the Mushroom Kingdom, even this long and arduous journey that is Mario Bros. 2. Next up, we'll be going through the United States version of Mario Bros., which is famously originally Doki Doki Panic. Hope to see you all again then. Outro words and stuff. This is Limping Larry out.